Oh, yay. It's so fun to be back with KG and the insights we're having, especially the ones she's having, are amazing. So we can't wait to share that with you. But first, we just want to encourage everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channels, help us grow and get the information out there. Share the video if you appreciate what we're saying and the insights that we're bringing through. And be sure to stay to the end of this video because we're going to share some visuals actually, of visions that people shared with us around an earlier video we did of what the new Earth could look like, what the new world could look like. And I think that was everything.
Yeah, it was really inspired by the heartfelt visions that were shared. You asked, we called for people to share their visions for a new Earth, what that would look and feel like. So it was really inspired from that.
Yeah,
It just took a
beautiful.
while to get it up.
Yeah. Well, it takes the time it takes, right? So yeah, so be sure to stay for that. Check out the show notes for additional links and insights and where to go to subscribe to KG's channel and subscribe to my channel. If you're watching this on my channel, if you're watching on KG's channel, you can find out where to subscribe to my channel by going to the show notes. So we'll have all that there for you. And oh my gosh, we are coming into it's like this whole year has been off the charts amazing. Just crazy, wild, and intense in some ways, but just it's like starting something new is coming, has been coming in for a while, and we've been having all these transits that are just absolutely mind expanding. Uh, and we're coming up on the September eclipses. Starts with a total lunar eclipse and then ends with a partial solar eclipse right as we are about 22 hours before the exact equinox. So that just even that in and of itself is amazing. And we're going to talk about these energies and how we can work with them and make the most of them and how they're helping us to activate even more things that have already been activated even more so that we can get to this new world energy, to be really living it in an embodied 3D reality. Maybe we'll be in 5D by then, who knows? But but it's
There was
actual.
I had an insight about that, and I don't really know how to speak it. But that, we're still 3D, but we're operating from fifth dimension.
I think other people have talked about that too. Yeah. I mean, we
It's not
still
like
have the
we're going
3D
to be,
reality
we're going to physically be in 3D form, but we'll be operating from a fifth dimensional plane.
with fifth 5D consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Love that.
So it's a unity consciousness.
Yeah.
I think one of the insights that I was sharing with Cam was that I got to download this transmission this week about how we've reached the extremes and there's going to be a collapse into the unified field, the 0 point field. So, and I think this eclipse that we're on is really helping. The polarity is between the sixth Virgo house and the 12th Pisces house. And so this is an axis that joins the conscious and unconscious minds, the axis of mindset and service from both a worldly level and from more spiritually evolved level.
I love that. That's beautiful. So, I can share. Do you want me to share my screen so we can look at?
Yes.
And also, one of the things we want to talk about is how this is affecting the U.S. chart. And it's interesting because I've been seeing things that like there's a lot going on in the U.S. And we've talked about that before in previous videos, some of the things that are happening and the changes in the evolution or it sometimes feels like devolution. That's going on, but it's for the purposes of moving
It's a
in
spiral, so that's why it feels like a devolution. It's like you're going back, but you're not. You're really spiraling up.
coming up to a higher octave of, yeah, I agree. And so the US is it seems like in a way, because it's such a big player on the world stage, and as is China, and they've got similar things going on. So, in terms of economics and how people are feeling about the life and all of that, they're so similar. And so our opportunity is, I think, when we look at the U.S. chart, it can help give us some insights and understanding about how people around the world are being affected by what's happening here as it ripples out into the rest of the world. So anyway, that we're going to look at that. So let me just pull this up and go to okay. So here we go. So on September 7th, we have the total lunar eclipse, and it's not going to be visible in the US. It's going to be more in other places in the world. It is the longest total eclipse, lunar eclipse, and since 2022. It's lasting for like an hour and 57 minutes, or it's almost 2 hour eclipse from start to finish. And then I mean, 5 hours and 27 minutes. And then the actual length of the eclipse totality is an hour and 22 minutes, meaning that the Earth's shadow on the face of the moon is for over an hour. It's an hour and 22 minutes, I think. And for people that get to see it, that's pretty cool. And the uh, the Earth so it's just keeping in mind in a total lunar eclipse, we're looking at our own shadow. So the Earth is between the sun and the moon. It's a full moon. It's a sun-moon opposition, but the Earth comes between them and they line up in this perfect line, and it creates. I like the description of like the tumblers in a combination lock coming all together so that there's this thing that happens and that we can witness and be witness to. So these are some of the energies that are uh, present for us in this eclipse on September 7th, and how this is affecting the US chart. So with the moon at 15 Pisces, pretty much exactly on the USA Sedna, and very near Ceres as well. Of course, Neptune is still on the IC of the USA chart. And the actually, I didn't do it from the moon's perspective. I did it from the sun's perspective. But this whole thing is squaring the ascendant descendant within 3 degrees of the ascendant descendant of the US chart. And Jupiter is still in the process of catching up to Mercury. It's already crossed Venus and Jupiter and the Sun. I think it comes back to about 17 degrees when it retrogrades back. So it's done with that part of the chart. And then Pallas Athena, this one really kind of blows my mind. Pallas Athena is with the South Node, and of course Pluto's coming up to the South Node of the U.S. chart eventually, and so this is suggesting that some things of the past. How are we coming to terms with things of the past, especially from the perspective of the divine feminine, Pallas Athena being the feminine wisdom, the warrior energy. So what's going on with all of that? Plus, and I love that you pointed this out, KG, the moon is with the fixed star Achernar, and it's in the constellation of Eridanus, the river. And it means, Achernar means river's end. So it's the very end of the river. And it's the ninth brightest star in the sky, suggesting that if we're going with the flow and trusting the process, then and embracing universal love as our guiding light, this eclipse is going to change so much. And I know you have much more to say about that, so I'll let you take it away.
Well, Achernar is associated with spiritual guidance and sudden success, moral integrity, and mystical wisdom flowing from higher realms, down from heavens. So the moon conjunct Achernar during an eclipse, a lunar eclipse, just a powerful download of higher consciousness available on the whole planet, especially those areas where it's visible. Soul guidance through deep emotional truths coming to light, without seeing the shadow, which you pointed out. and a need to release outdated patterns around spiritual self-sacrifice. Well, again, I think that goes in well with some of what you've already pointed out with Athena being the warrior and willing to face those challenges, and also channeling divine intelligence through your dreams and subtle perceptions. You may get, like I said, spiritual downloads with this connection with Achernar.
Beautiful. Yeah, and the US Sedna is with the star. Of course, it wouldn't be as exact with the star uh when it was 249 years ago. When the birth chart of the USA happened, but it would be within a couple degrees. So still very, very potent energy. And Sedna, of course, is about the divine feminine having sunk to the depths of the subconscious and is now rising up. So this just is so good because one of the things that happened when the US chart was created, when they did the Declaration of Independence, and they were looking at how to create the Constitution of the US and how to um, uh, create a governing body for this newly formed country, was that they went to the Iroquois Confederacy and asked them if they could use their constitution because it had worked for them for thousands of years, like at least 1,000 years. And they said yes, but the one thing you must not leave out is the consulting with the grandmothers. You cannot make any decisions that they don't approve. And of course, that's the one thing they left out. And they said, and if you leave that part out, you will find yourself in trouble, which is, of course, where we find ourselves today. And with, it's just a mess because the wisdom of the grandmothers has not been honored and valued. And Sedna is like, Sedna representing that divine feminine having sunk to the subconscious depths or the depths of the ocean. Um, and so her voice hasn't been heard. But now I think her voice is being heard more. And this eclipse maybe will help to bring that more forward into our awareness.
Yeah, I think also Sedna really points to transmutation, where you're really transcending the old forms and creating something new. And also Haumea is right at, I think, 1 degree Scorpio right now. And she's very much about transformation also. And of course, that is where in the whole sign, the beginning of the 12th house. So that's going to be
Of the
quite a
US chart, yeah.
process. Yes, of the US chart. So I think there's, both of those spell, transmutation, transformation are definitely in our future for the US.
Probably whether this was happening or not, but it's going to be magnified, amplified, expanded as a result of what's going on with, the opening of this eclipse portal on September 7th, going to the 21st of September. So is there anything more you want to say about this eclipse, KG?
Well, I think it's important that Saturn is stationed retrograde or re-entered. It's stationed retrograde. It re-entered Pisces on September 1st.
Yeah.
So I think this is a major timing note. It deepens the impact of this eclipse because it brings structure to your dreams. Its final sweep through the last degrees of Pisces. So this is a kind of a last chance for you to really give a structure to your dreams. It helps to define your boundaries, release any blocks that may be holding you back. And you're also reviewing your commitment to your own soul path and inner truth in life. And so it's a period of redefining what matters most to you and embracing spiritual discipline and discerning illusions from intuitive knowing. I think right now we have a chance to have more of a sense of intuitive knowing and clarity through all the confusion. There's been a lot of confusion that has been brought up with Neptune and Pisces. And I feel like Saturn gives the opportunity to really turn that into intuitive wisdom.
Beautiful. I love that. And just to note too that this is a north node eclipse. So the moon
Yes.
with the north node and the north node having to do with destiny and how we're moving towards our destiny. And one of the things that people may or may not know, but the closer the moon is to the nodes, the sun and the moon are to the nodes, when an eclipse happens, the more likely it is to be total. And when they're further away, the more likely it is to be partial or, some version of that. So just so you have a sense of that. So this is pretty close to the North Node and sitting right between the moon and Saturn as well. So drawing on the wisdom and the structural talents that Saturn has to create something new and to be dreaming into Pisces being about the dreaming, visioning, and reweaving the web.
Yes. And this eclipse energy does play out. It can play out for a long time, but usually it plays out for at least 6 months, and that coincides with Saturn Neptune, conjunct in Aries,
Yes.
the Aries point.
Coming back to that and to the zero Aries point, the only time in a really long time, like thousands of years that they've been at the zero Aries point together. They come back, they have been in Aries before together, but different degrees, like 6 degrees, 12 degrees, different degrees that they would come together. Never, and what I could find, did they come together at 0 degrees. It's just that alpha point, the beginning point of everything. So that's amazing.
So yeah, so this is the setup. It's definitely the setup. We've been being in a process of being set up for this new beginning.
I
That's
love it. That's so good. All right. So
also
then,
also we have you talked about the opposition of Mercury and the Sun conjunct the South Node in Virgo opposite the
Mercury you mean at the lunar eclipse or at
is
the,
opposite of they are on the South Node. They're opposite this full moon, this lunar eclipse.
yes, yeah. Mercury is within 5 degrees of the sun and 5 degrees of opposition to the moon. And yeah, South Node. So what insights, information, creative expression coming from the past is being illuminated in this eclipse? Did you have
Yes,
any?
yes. And again, it's that need to integrate the intellect and the emotions. I feel like that's,
Yeah.
one of the big themes of this particular eclipse.
Yeah.
This whole eclipse, both the lunar and the solar eclipse.
Yeah. If we think about too, the ascendant descendant line being squared by the moon and the sun at the eclipse, um, within 3 degrees, it's pretty close. The how we see ourselves and how we relate to others. If I like to think of the ascendant as personal identity and the descendant as relation. So how we are having a relationship with ourselves, and then the descendant is how we're having a relationship with others. So that is very interesting for us to look at from a collective perspective around the USA chart. Um, and see to be able to look at how can we, I mean, I'd like to see that could create a better relationship. Like we're all on the same planet, right? Like it's like we're all in the same boat. And if somebody's trying to row the other direction than the direction that everybody else is rowing, it just creates a lot of disruption and might tip over the boat. So it's like, how are we going to get on the same page? How are we going to get to a place where
Yes.
everyone's respecting each other, loving each other, caring about each other, caring about the planet, and working together for a sense of a higher expression of what it is possible for us to be, recognizing that we're all one. We're all, that unity consciousness that you spoke about, Katie. I love
Yeah,
that.
we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Also, we have the trine of Jupiter and Cancer to this solar eclipse. I think that adds blessings, great blessings,
Yeah.
and helps to expand the emotions so we can be more in touch with the emotions,
Yes.
a healthy way.
Yeah. And Jupiter's getting ready to cross the US Mercury as well. So it's close and already creating an expansion around that. So how are we perceiving things? What's the expansion that's happening around how we're perceiving things? And Cancer being, how do we create safe space for everyone? How do we create a way for us to all be safe um, in this world and to feel valued and accepted and supported? At least that's what the way I like to look at it.
And how are we communicating with others?
Yeah, exactly. In ways that it's not shaming, blaming, and complaining.
It's more nurturing.
It's nurturing, it's loving, it's kind.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. So, is there anything else we need to say about this?
Yeah, we have that square to Uranus and Sedna in Gemini.
Uh, the you mean um the transiting Uranus and Sedna?
Well, this the uh we have the square between that Gemini, the Uranus, and Sedna are square to both Aries, the Neptune, and Saturn. So that's going on.
Hmm. Isn't it more like a sextile between them?
Not, let's see.
It looks like a sextile to me, like they're 60 degrees apart, fire to air.
Um,
Well, we're going to talk more too about this grand trine thing.
Maybe I'm mixing that up with what's happening at the Virgo.
Maybe. Anyway, let's look at the next
Anyway,
one.
let's go on. And we,
Yeah. So the partial solar eclipse on September 21st, um, and it's at 29 degrees of Virgo. So, in 5 minutes, and there's 60 minutes in a degree. So it's almost the equinox 0 degree point. And like I mentioned earlier, 22 hours later, it's going to be at the 0 degrees Libra point. And so this is connected to a star called Markeb that's in the constellation of Argo, the ship. Argo, some if you know Greek mythology, Jason and the Argonauts, they went on the ship Argo. The Argonauts were the ones that travel on the ship Argo to get the golden fleece. And so the symbol of this sun of this star is it's so associated with the symbolic journey of life, sailing, going somewhere, journeying somewhere, taking a trip somewhere, and implies freedom of movement to search for the new and channeling energy that is confident and purposeful. So these are this at this new moon, what a great energy to also have connected to this time as well. And do you want to say more about that?
yes, I had a bunch of stuff that I looked up on Markeb. I'm trying to find. Oh, here it is. Yeah, from what I researched, I found out that it's really has a lot to do with being focused and having a keen eye for the truth, as well as giving endurance. Um, it helps with discernment, and it really helps with that Virgoan gift of being discerning, and which is one of the lessons that we're learning with the Pisces retrograde and with Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So it really helps you cut through distractions. Um, so I think this particular eclipse is really urging us to really question how dedicated we are to our own path, our soul path. that's what I got from that.
Beautiful. And this one's a south node eclipse, meaning the sun and the moon are with the south node, but you can see they're not quite as close as they were with the total lunar eclipse. So that's why it's a partial solar eclipse, because it's really uh, 10 and a half degrees, they're 10 and a half degrees apart. So
Yes,
it's,
they can be up to, isn't it 17 degrees? They can be quite far apart to
yeah,
create
and still be an eclipse, but even more partial or even more
partial.
penumbral or whatever the further away they are, the less of an eclipse that you'll experience. And
So this is the second Virgo new moon, which I think is important. So we get a second new beginning in the same sign, and the second one is this partial um, solar eclipse. And I also wanted to mention that we'll be talking about this, but that there are a bunch of out of sign aspects happening with this because it's so near the end of the sign. So when you can have like a trine 120-degree aspect with, like with this one, the Virgo solar eclipse is trying to Gemini, but Gemini is in an air sign. So you have earth to air, and usually a trine is between two of the same elements, like earth to earth. So it's an out of sign, which means that it can be more challenging to synthesize and integrate, which I think is an important part of what we're going through right now, because we really need to synthesize and integrate disparate elements that normally don't work well together. You're needing to expand your consciousness and your perception so that you can contain those elements and have them work together in a way that creates something positive out of the union of those, synthesis of those.
yeah, and if you think about Pluto in Aquarius also being trine to Uranus and Gemini, and then being trine to the sun and the moon, and also trine to the US midheaven, pretty exact. They're all at 1 degree. So that's happening regardless of the eclipse, but and then you put the sun and the moon at that 29-degree Virgo point, almost 0 degrees Libra will be happening. The moon a couple hours later will be at moving into Libra, and then the sun the next day moves into Libra, and so that will complete that grand trine.
Grand air trine.
Yeah, grand
Yes.
air trine.
And so I recommend if you're doing a ritual or setting intentions at this new moon to wait until the moon the new moon has entered Libra at 2:41 p.m. Pacific on the same day as this eclipse to do your ritual.
Yeah, so basically a couple hours later,
Yeah.
whatever time it is for you that the moon is exact. And just something that people may or may not know is that most ancient cultures worked with the first crescent moon, the first visible moon as the new moon that they would celebrate as a culture. And we lost that. And also because they didn't have computers to figure out when the exact sun and moon conjunction was. So they just waited to see that crescent moon appear in the evening sky, and then that's when they did their ceremonies. And so it doesn't have to be right as the sun and the moon meet.
Yes, it's best to actually wait, whether a full or a new moon, to wait until after, because I think the energy is, you can,
It's present for at least a couple days, the
yeah,
energy, at least, and sometimes longer. So yeah, we don't have to be right there at the exact moment.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Something
just
you can follow your intuition on and just feel like when it's right.
yeah, exactly.
Then we have a
And
sixtile with Jupiter and Cancer. Again, we have a good communication link with Cancer so that there are opportunities for blessings and more feeling of nurturance and lighting up the intuition, connection with family, feeling emotionally supported.
beautiful. And then the Pallas Athena here has now moved back to 7 Aquarius, within about half a degree of the south node of the US chart. And she's stationing direct. She's been retrograde for a while now. She's stationing direct on October 4th at 6 degrees Aquarius and 39 minutes, within 5 minutes of being precisely on the south node of the US chart. And so again, I mean, like we mentioned before, it's like, what is the wisdom that we can tap into that she brings, the ancient wisdom that can help us move forward at this time? And really, we've got her very close and present until probably sometime towards the end of October, after she starts picking up speed and moving on, maybe even into November. So, yeah.
Yes, that's part of the energy of having a spine, standing up for what's right, and finding your voice to implement worthy goals. And it's
Yeah.
it's an active energy.
So it's focused on the South Node, so that the wisdom and the insights and the gifts of the past, but also letting go of the things that have held us back and haven't been so great for us moving towards really the destiny that
Yeah,
was,
it's calling out if this isn't working anymore.
yeah,
Having a spine set and calling it out,
right.
you know.
Yeah. And so it opens up and frees the way to move towards the destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that that's another thing that,
Create new foundations.
yeah. Exactly. So with a solar eclipse, what we see is there's the Earth is looking out at the sun, and then the moon kind of moves between the sun and the Earth, and so you see the shadow of the moon on the face of the sun and during a solar eclipse. And if it's a total solar eclipse, day turns to night. It's like so amazing. If it's partial, you can see just a little bit of the moon covering the sun. But in any case, it is a amplification and activation of the energies that are present
Yes.
at that time.
Yes.
And if we think about Virgo being an energy that is, how do we honor all life as sacred? How do we honor the earth as sacred? How do we honor all life? How are we in a sacred relationship with all of life, with ourselves first, ideally, and then with each other and with all life. So that's something that's being amplified as well at this time.
And then it does an opposition with Saturn in Pisces and out of sign opposition to Neptune.
Yes, right. Well, yeah, it kind of is in that opposition. Yeah, because Saturn's at 28 and Sun and Moon are at 29. So they're very closely opposite during the time of the
Yeah.
eclipse. Yeah. And again, Saturn can be the one that helps us to realize what it is we want to bring into form and then gives us the tools to do that. So, and I love what you were saying earlier about the 6 month window. Like we might not really see what's manifesting for at least 6 months. It might happen faster though, you know?
Might happen. Some places it happen, but I mean, it's a window of time
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
things can show
Right.
up, begin to show
From
up.
one
So,
eclipse window to another eclipse window, which will start
yes,
February, I think.
yes.
Next year.
So definitely, it's these eclipses are acting like a bridge between the worlds, that the old world and the new world. It's like a bridge that
Yeah.
we're crossing.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So
I love
we can
that.
choose to evolve at this time. It's easier than other times. There's so much pressure that's being released, that people can be catapulted to making choices they never thought they'd make.
Right? Yeah, and that, I mean, that can really happen at any time in a person's life, but I think on a collective level, these eclipses are helping to catapult us to what's
Yeah,
next.
there can be all kinds of innovations
Yeah.
that
I love it.
transpire. We may be able to see blind spots that were hidden before that come to light.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. So, anything else before we move on to the vision for the new Earth?
Well, let's go ahead and go to it.
Okay. All right. And you can talk about these because you're the one that really curated this.
Oh, I haven't looked at them for a long time. Let's see. Okay.
Yeah. Well, what I'm seeing is that part of the vision is people healing, and we're healing each other. We're creating ways of through sound, through light, through intent, through loving kindness, helping to heal each other. That's what I see.
Yeah. Well, so this first slide um, is there's a healing breath. They're using the healing breath to activate and balance and amplify the chakras. And in the next one, I don't know how they're showing up on the screen. Got too
So
many windows up, and I'm trying to read notes I have here.
okay.
So the next one is this is radiant healing with sound and light.
Okay, I think that's this one. So there's somebody who's doing sound healing bowls or somebody um generating light to go into the person that's laying on the table and somebody.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
And then the next one is a crystal healing.
Yep. Crystals in the water, crystals in the temple.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
It helping to clear negative programming. And I actually see one of the things that's going to come about are more of these wellness centers where people can get um, rewired so
Yeah.
that their subconscious mind, they have an integration between all their chakras, so they're balanced. We were talking about this too, how most people are in survival consciousness in their lower chakras, and so they're fear based, and the chakras aren't really integrated and balanced. So, and once they're balanced, you have some interest in your survival on planet Earth, obviously, but you balance that with the higher chakras so that there's a spiritual attunement, so that there's a communication that happens in your through your being, so there's more integration and balance and healing, wholeness. There's wholeness. People
Yeah.
are whole. They're not operating just from the lower chakras.
And the
It's
second
operating.
image here looks like ascension portal.
Yeah, it's a star portal
Yeah.
for interdimensional travel. And I've actually seen these for a long time where you go into these where you can go to other dimensions, other places on the planet. So, and I think that they'll become very common, like subway stations where you go and you can go to another place, just get transported to another place on the planet, or go to another dimension or another part of the galaxy, that sort of thing.
I
So,
love it. I want to do that.
and then next we have a peaceful cityscape. And I envision this more for that they can begin by 2040 or 2050 and evolve from there. This has some futuristic architecture, green living, holistic wellness cover, kind of, it's more of a holistic way of living
Yes.
your life.
Yes.
So these are just some ideas people shared. These ideas, I kind of put them into Chat GPT and kept working with it till it gave me some images that I thought were, that were somewhat indicative of a future oriented vision of how life, so that we need to start envisioning what life can look like. I think that helps people move out of fear more
Yes.
if they have a vision of what life can be better. It can be more harmonious. It can be more integrated and whole. So it's not something to fear.
Love it.
And
And
then,
then healing with horses for wellness and
yeah, and they're flying vehicles. natural part of daily life and the healing with animals, healing in the radiant color room, and community wellness to assist humanity in shifting to higher consciousness, and water and crystal color healing. So I think healing and being whole and will be a much more of a valued, people will value it much more than they do right now, with being so in the ego, lower chakras. We think that somehow we're not okay if we have these mental disruptions or stuff that keep us uneasy about life, about people, other people, ourselves, and feeling uncomfortable all the time. Rather than suppress that, you begin to deal with that and become more whole and healed and integrated being, rather than suppress feelings that you feel like you don't want to be aware of.
I love this because that is such an important part of our healing process, and also recognizing that that these technologies, these possibilities already exist. We just need to
Yes.
allow our consciousness to embrace that, and they will become more real in our,
And
everyday.
evolved. I mean, they'll evolve.
Yeah,
These, like you said, these kind of practices are already in use.
yeah, beautiful.
So
So, so So hopefully this is inspiring to those who are seeing it, and that we can begin to dream into this all together, and that we recognize that we're all one, we're all the same, we're not separate, we're not different. And that we're opening a portal to accelerate that possibility and to accelerate the healing that's also possible. Because if you think about Pisces wants to help and heal. Um, but it can, but sometimes it's like it's not its job. It's just to be present with whatever is happening in the moment, and that can be the healing thing that happens. Um, it's not about doing something.
yeah, I like that idea of collective dreaming and collective healing.
Yes, yes, yeah, and to
And
heal
that will
all.
definitely come on more as Pluto moves through Aquarius.
Yeah,
That whole, seeing our commonality, working together in collectives and cooperatives and as a community of people on the planet.
yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
That's,
So this is so exciting, and hopefully you will all join with us in dreaming into these possibilities, so that we are collectively dreaming, and that, the dream energy is so connected to Pisces, the bringing it into sacred form is so connected to Virgo, and of course some of the other things we talked about, like Saturn being in Pisces as well. So the time is now.
yes.
Yeah. So any last words to before we wrap
No,
up?
that was a great way of summarizing what this eclipse portal is all about for us as humanity. That, that's happening. Everybody needs to get behind the new, creating these new visions for the world we want.
Yes. Yes. If we're not gonna do that, then we might not get it. So we need to do that. The world is as you dream it. John Perkins wrote a book called The World is as You Dream It. And that was something he was taught by some elder shaman people in Peru. And they said, we need to start dreaming a new world because the one we've dreamed is not a good one. So this is the time to begin dreaming the new dream of a new world that we want to live in.
We can
So
do it.
we can do it. Yay. So thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Okay. Thank you so much.